Hey everybody, welcome to the final video in a series of videos for Blood Bowl, the 2016 edition. This is just going to be on my review of the game. Now if you want to see a quick overview of the game, or if you want to see some sample gameplay, or see a tutorial of the game, check out my other videos in the series. This is basically just going to be a review of the game. Now Blood Bowl is a game that's been around for 30 years. The original game came out in 1988, and yes, this is the original 1988 version of the game. There's also additional versions of the game. I have the 1996 edition of the game also, and now I have the 2016 edition of the game, and basically the big question you're probably asking is Blood Bowl worth purchasing? Well, since Blood Bowl is such an old game, you're just basically having three categories of players. You have the people who've never heard of the game before and want to know, hey, is this a fun game? Is this a game I'm going to enjoy? Is this a game I can get to the table? The other category of players you're going to have is the people who played Blood Bowl before, kind of stopped playing it for one of the various reasons, and now they want to know if it's worth getting back into. And then you have the final category of the people like me who have at least one or two prior editions of the game and need to know if this is worth spending $80 to get the brand new 2016 edition of the game. And that's the target people I'm going to start with at the beginning of this video, talking about the people who've had the game before, and just help you decide this is a game that you want to plug down another $80 and get the newest edition of the game. Now I want to concentrate on the prior owners of the game first, and of course I'm not going to neglect in this video talking about for new people about the game, but let's be honest here. This is my third time buying the game. Obviously, I like the game, so I'm going to tell you I like the game. So me telling you, spending about 10 minutes telling you why I like the game is going to be pretty darn silly to start this video, when I know there are a lot of people who have purchased and played Blood Bowl in the past and just really want to know if they need to throw the $80 out there again. Now let's just start with what we get in this box for $80. We're getting two teams. We get 12 miniatures or players for the Orc team. We're getting 12 players for the Human team. And we're getting a very large board. We get one very large rule book, and we got a lot of very large templates. And I'm emphasizing large here because this is the biggest point you need to understand with the newest edition of Blood Bowl. They have basically supersized everything in the game in a very grand way. They made all the miniatures much larger. You can compare some of the older miniatures to some of the newer miniatures. Now this is one of the Orc blockers from the 1996 edition of the game. And you can compare that to one of the Orc blockers for the new version of the game, and you can see that there is a huge difference just in the amount of detail, the amount of quality, and the basic design of these sculpts. They've improved everything quite a bit on these miniatures. They're a larger scale, much better detail, and these are very fantastic miniatures. Matter of fact, these miniatures are so fantastic, I would suggest, even if you're not a painter, I would highly suggest painting these miniatures because miniatures this highly detailed are extremely easy to paint. And if you've ever been shy about painting and ever wanted to know if this is something that you want to do, check out some of those YouTube tutorial videos out there. And matter of fact, if you check out the front page of my YouTube channel, I actually have a link right on the right hand side, right underneath the section where it shows for other recommended links there. I have Watch It Played, I have Gaming on a Budget, and right underneath those two I have Sarasso's painting channel. It's a fantastic YouTube painting channel. The guy does a fantastic job, and he brings it down into very simplistic terms to teach you how to turn this little piece of plastic with a basic black coat into some fantastic painting. So do yourself a favor, if you do want to play Blood Bowl, this is a great time to learn how to paint because these are dang good miniatures. And that doesn't just stop at the beginning here. You have a fantastic quality that goes across all the components of the game, from a high quality range ruler, high quality double-sided board, high quality double-sided dugouts. You have all these dice that are really fantastic dice. They're engraved dice, so you don't have to worry about paint coming off them. They're not silkscreen, so you don't have to worry about them losing the faces on the dice, which is really important for the block dice and everything like that. So you have really high quality components here, but it's almost like a broken record saying that because it's a Games Workshop production. Games Workshop does not put out low quality stuff. You pay a little bit more for Games Workshop stuff, but you get the dollar value in anything you buy for Games Workshop. And this is probably the start of Games Workshop starting to bring their prices down. You can easily get this new edition of Blood Bowl for $80. Now I know the retail price is $100, but if you go into any local gaming store that is preferred provider for Games Workshop, they all offer a 20% discount. So you're basically spending $80 for this, and it's a really good value. High quality components, high quality miniatures, and everything like this. But the real question is, to go back, what I wanted to mention here is, if you're a prior owner of Blood Bowl, is it worth getting this brand new edition of the game? From a component standpoint, yes, it's probably a good idea to get the new edition of the game, simply because the new edition of the game, especially if you were not a completionist and you didn't get a lot of teams and you're missing a lot of things, you're going to notice that there is a very large size discrepancy between the old components and the new components, to the point that if you played with some of these older components, you're going to have a little bit of problem, especially if you're playing with players who have some of the newer components. Because you can see that the range ruler is definitely a difference in size. You're going to notice that the difference on the miniatures makes a big difference on the playing field. And while it's not a big deal putting some of the older, smaller miniatures on the new board, it does look pretty silly when you have these gigantic black orc blockers and try and put them on the old game board, because you're going to see there's just not enough room. And when you get a large lineup of a whole bunch of miniatures in one little good line of scrimmage, you're going to notice that there's just not a lot of room on the board. So the big question you need to ask yourself here, and you need to look at your prior collection here. If you were just somebody who had just one of the base boxes for the original Blood Bowl, whether it's the 88, might as well just ignore the 1988 version of the game, because this game is old. The rules are changed. You can't even really compare this version of the rules to the newest version of the rules, because the game plays differently. There's different rules and everything like that. But let's just look at the 1996 version of the game. If you just compare the 96 version of the game to the newest version of the game here, you're going to see that the miniatures are a different size, and you can play with the older miniatures on the new board. It's not a big deal. But the new miniatures are not going to play on the old board. So if you have just the basic box, which just means you have the two teams, an orc team and a human team, well, I would almost suggest, say, right out the bat, just buy the new version of the game. For some reason that you're not going to have enough players if you just have the oldest version to start playing with the league play and start creating your own teams. Because it's basically the same amount of miniatures in the 96 version as the 2016 version of the game. You get 2 throwers, 2 blockers, 2 blitzers, 4 linemen, and whatever for both sides of the team. So you're getting the exact same places, the exact same placements, the exact same positions, and everything like that. So if you just have the basic box and you want to get in a league play, you want to start creating your own teams, and you have the 96 edition of the game, get the new version. Because you're going to want to start making your teams where you can get multiple blitzers. So if you have the old 96 new version, you can basically make your own orc team. You can basically make your own home human team, because you're going to have a number of miniatures to do that. So it's going to work out perfectly for you. So if you hardly had anything, yeah, get the new edition if you enjoyed the game and had a lot of fun with it. Now, if you had everything for the old game, meaning you had all custom teams for all the races, you had everything custom, you had enough positions to fill everything and going back and forth there, there's nothing else you need from the newest edition. Do you really need the new edition of the game? And that's pretty much a harder decision to decide. That's something you really need to decide for yourself. Price-wise, it's not that much money if you spent that much money already in a Blood Bowl. Seriously, if you bought that much for Blood Bowl, you're probably nearly $1,000 into it. Another $80 is not that big a deal. And you're going to notice that they have made some very minor changes to the game. I mean, you can look at the older star player cards and see that while the stats are pretty much the same, you will notice that there are some differences between the stats of some of the teams. Like the human team has had a very minor adjustment. They changed some of the price for, I believe it's the catchers. They went down by 10,000 credits, and this is 96 edition. But the new edition changed the prices. You're going to notice there's a couple differences, such as the Knuckle Duster's card has been changed ever so slightly. So there are some updates and some changes to the game. So yeah, again, even if you have a lot of stuff, I probably would still recommend buying the newest edition of the game, because it's worth it to get the new range ruler, it's worth it to get the newer player board, and you're also going to get the new dice, and you're also going to get the updated cards with all the stats and everything on it. So again, I would still probably say it's almost going to be worth it to buy the new version of Blood Bowl even at that point. Now that we've covered it for the old school returning players who have been playing Blood Bowl for a while and trying to figure out if they want to buy this game or not, I want to really talk about the main crowd here. The new players, the people who played Blood Bowl in the past, I'm not sure if they want to pick it up again, or just for the people who never played Blood Bowl at all. Now, what Blood Bowl is trying to emulate real life football, and it does a really good job in a good way and also in a bad way of doing this. Now, see, I've never been a big fan of football, but I have a lot of family members. I have a father-in-law who you don't even bother calling him on Sunday if football is playing, because he's not going to answer the phone unless somebody's dead, dying, or dismembered. You're not going to get him on the phone. So I do have family members who are huge football fans, and Blood Bowl, in a way, brings that out in the board game players. And what I'm saying about that is, you know, those football fans, those people who will sit there and scream and holler at the screen because you'll have a player on a team who will miss the obvious catch. You'll have a player who will miss the obvious interception. You'll have a player who will miss the obvious play of the game. And Blood Bowl emulates that very well, for better and for worse, thanks to the randomness and the chaos of the dice. Now, Blood Bowl is, at its heart, it is a game that's emulating real life football with fantasy races. But there's a lot of thought put in the game to make sure that you're having a real feel of, well, pretty much a real football game with a fantasy tone to it. But that also means that real football and just real Blood Bowl playing the game, there's a lot of chaos built into the game, and the game does emulate that very well. And this is definitely a game about hedging your bets and trying to get the odds in your favor. And even when you try to get the odds in your favor, it never fails that you're going to roll a double knockdown and you're going to get knocked down, even when all the odds are in your favor. And that's something you need to understand about the game Blood Bowl. Yes, this is a game that's 30 years old. The rules are fantastic. I mean, let's be honest, any game that's still around 30 years later is either going to be really good, have a lot of fans, or there's some kind of miracle going on, because you can look at board games. Board games that old are either fantastic or they're gone and forgotten. Heck, games that are 5 years old are quickly gone and forgotten. I mean, that's just the way the hobby works. So for a game to be out for 30 years, and yes, this game was originally, the original edition came out in 1988, and the game was originally designed in 1986. This is 2016, almost 2017. This game has legs. It's been around for a long, long time. Blood Bowl does offer multiple ways to play the game. You can have your standard one-off games where you're basically taking a team and playing it against another player. And while that can be pretty entertaining, the heart and the soul of Blood Bowl is actually playing the league play. And that's one thing you should really think about before you start investing into Blood Bowl. Because while the base box is not that expensive, it is $80, and you can definitely play the game right out of the box and have a lot of fun with the basic box. There's more enough components to play at least a dozen games out of the basic box before you're ever really going to want to go out there and buy other teams. And I'll talk about that in just a moment, how that's going to affect everything right here. But there's a lot of play out of the basic box here, but the real heart and the real soul of Blood Bowl is playing with league play. Because it is fun to take your basic blitzer, who starts off as a big nobody, make him as part of your team by starting off with 1,000 credits, painting these miniatures up and making this team go from the lowly beginnings of the no-name team to a team that you've raised. You've had star players, you've had special players, you've had special memories, and this is one of those games that's going to really bring that to the forefront, and that's where most of the fun of Blood Bowl comes from. So if you're the kind of player who does not have a lot of friends or does not have access to a gaming group or access to a league or the ability to play this with a larger group of players, the game is going to be fun, don't get me wrong, but it's going to lose one of the biggest attractions of Blood Bowl, and that is playing league play, where you take your simple no-name team, build them up from scratch, try to do your best to build that team by hedging all the dollars in your favor, trying to create the perfect team and watch them grow through a complete league and have them go from the basic unknown orc blocker all the way to a fantastic star player who has various skills and various abilities, and the most important thing, various stories to tell of things they manage to accomplish throughout the game, all based on the randomness of the dice and the luck of the dice, because that's the other thing you need to understand about Blood Bowl. This is a game where your best laid plans will be torn apart just by the roll of the dice. I have seen multiple times where I've rolled the dice to knock somebody down, and I've done exactly this kind of roll right here, even after doing a team reroll, spin and reroll, and having my perfect drive come to a screeching halt, and then had a very bad turn of events where the dice are rolled, and one of my star players happened to suffer a bad injury, who's removed from the game, possibly even removed from my roster on a permanent basis. But that's all part of the stories of Blood Bowl, and that's the biggest thing I need to impress upon you about the game of Blood Bowl. If that is not something that you're going to enjoy, watching your hard work going into a player destroyed as maybe they die, or watching your hard work going into your best laid plans as they're torn apart by the dice, if that's something that annoys you, if you want a game where you can make a perfect plan and every time you execute that plan it's going to work out perfectly, this is not the game for you. Because this is a game that's emulating a sport, and just like real life sports, chaos and Murphy's Law will come up at the worst times and ruin all the best laid plans of mice and men. Or men and Skaven. And speaking of Skaven, one of the best things about Blood Bowl itself is the fact that you have all these races involved in the game, and that's where a lot of the additional fun comes in. Because while it's a lot of fun to play with the orcs and play with the humans, a lot of the fun comes in the fact that there are multiple races available for this game. Now, the game already has a third race, the Skaven, available, and there's also a download you can go to. Go to bloodbowl.com, and you can actually download all 23 races available for the game, so you can see all the different stats, all the statistics, and how to make every one of those teams come to life and play them on the Blood Bowl field. And until all those miniatures come out, because right now we only have the 3 teams available, but I believe the dwarves come out in January. Don't quote me on that, and maybe the elves are coming out in January, I don't know, but there's already 7 teams already ready to go that they have planned to definitely come out with the newest edition of Blood Bowl, so we don't have to worry about that happening. And if that doesn't happen for some reason, if Games Workshop decides that they don't want to bring back all these races again, the game's been around for 30 years. Not to reemphasize that, there are businesses out there where you can go online and order all these fantasy football teams out there. And there's various websites, just Google it. You'll find plenty of very reputable companies that have been around making these teams for a long time, because Blood Bowl, even though this is the newest edition of the game, it's never really gone away. People have been playing Blood Bowl for almost 30 years now. So we already have extra teams coming out, and the very cool thing about all these teams, all 23 of these teams, they all play very, very differently. You have your Skaven team, which is basically your running game, and they also do a lot of throwing. You have your human team, which is pretty much your average team. They're really good at everything, but not really bad at anything at all. You have your orc team, which is really good at smashing other players in the ground and winning through a war of attrition. And you have the dark elves, who are a really good throwing team. You have all the 4 different elven races. You have tons and tons of teams, making sure that if Blood Bowl is something that you're going to enjoy, there's going to be a race, there's going to be a team that you're going to enjoy. Now, the game is designed as a tier system, and with 23 races, you can pretty much expect this. You're going to have your upper tier teams, which are the teams that play very, very well against each other. You have your middle tier teams, which require a more experienced coach, somebody who understands the nuances of Blood Bowl to play them very well. So they're definitely teams that you would not recommend for new Blood Bowl players. Now, they're not bad teams, don't get me wrong. They're actually very good teams, especially in the hands of a very experienced coach. But they're definitely made for people who understand how to play Blood Bowl and understand the strengths and the weaknesses of every single races. And then you have your third tier teams. The teams are pretty much put out there as a little bit of a joke, but they're a great way for people who are very experienced at Blood Bowl to have a good challenge against less experienced players who can field a team such as Orcs while you play your Goblin team or you play your Halfling team and still allow everybody to have a heck of a lot of fun. So, bottom line here with Blood Bowl, you knew this was coming. I enjoy the game a lot. This is the 3rd time I bought the game, and I'm not unhappy about my purchase at all. I am quite happy, and I'm going to go out there and buy all the teams as they release them. And the main reason why I'm going to do this is because I personally was never a completionist with the original Blood Bowl. When the original came out in 1996, I did not have an excessive amount of disposable income, and I couldn't afford to get all the teams back then. I only have a couple teams. I have my Skaven team and I have my Dark Elf team, which were my favorite teams. But since Blood Bowl is coming back with a bang, and we know all these teams are coming back, I am definitely going to do what I can to make sure I purchase all these teams because Blood Bowl is a game I really enjoy. Yes, I understand the dice are very chaotic and they're hate me sometimes, but I also understand that a lot of the fun of the game is hedging your bets. A lot of the fun of the game is playing the league play, and a lot of the fun is just the stories you get from going against these complete leagues where you play against other players, go through a complete league, and if you want to have a lot of fun, if you're not a big football fan, but if you like the idea of fantasy football in a league, play Blood Bowl along with a real NFL football league where every Sunday everybody gets together and they play their teams off and we're going to see who gets the playoffs. It's actually a heck of a lot of fun, especially if you use kind of mocking names to represent your teams. Like my Dark Elf team, instead of the Dallas Cowboys, are called the Dark Side Cowboys. And yeah, I stole it from the original Blood Bowl. Sue me, what can I say there? You also have the Orkland Reavers instead of the Oakland Raiders. I'm sorry, the Oakland Raiders versus the Orkland Raiders. Sorry if I made the mistake on that one. But that's half of the fun of the Blood Bowl. The stories and the fun of the play of the game. Yes, there's a lot of strategy of the game. Yes, there's a lot of randomness. Please, dice, don't fail me again. Hey, they didn't fail me this time. But that's all part of the fun and all part of the charm and all part of the joy of Blood Bowl. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them as quick as I can. Don't forget about the giveaway I have for the Skaven dice. Again, I'm going to be paying for the shipping. Check out for the video for the complete rules on how to enter that contest. I'll be giving those dice away. Again, if you like this video, if you like this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and also, I can't highly recommend enough, paint these miniatures. It's a lot of fun. Check out the link I have on the front page of my YouTube channel to Serestro's painting channel. He shows you how to take somebody who, like me, is a horrible painter, and you can turn basic miniatures like that into nice works of art that look fantastic on the gaming table. Thanks for watching.